Hi everyone, I just wanted to come and do a live. I want to talk about OSA tactics and their fair gaming policy. This is an OSA case file. It's called the OSA case officers who directed private operatives only to report to guess you know who, Mike Render. And I forwarded the information they collected to David Miscavige himself. That would be Mike Render. So, the activities were degraded from others, even in OSA. This is a pursuant written policy of the church on how to conduct coverage on investigations and operations. A former Scientology staffer, Jennifer Stewart, broke her silence about being essayed 100 times at the age of 16 and 17, by which she was raped by a supervisor, She was ordered to face threats and intimidations and harassing phone calls. When she responded to the abuse, she filed a case against the Church of Scientology, and eventually she did a civil suit against the Church of Scientology and was awarded $700,000. Jennifer was married to Tom Gorman, and Tom Gorman's mother even reported on strange things going on when they filed the lawsuit. They had intimidation and, harassment and stalking. And the definition of bullying is intimidation of a weaker person by doing something that's pursuant to intend to make life unpleasant for another person. And gaslighting is a psychological manipulation over extended period of time that abuses a victim to question their own validity and their thoughts and perception of their abilities or memories. This was confusion and goes on to create a loss of confidence in that person, their self-esteem, and creates disparaging and emotional torment, instability, and dependency on the abuser. So what Mike Render is doing to Miriam is not only is he gaslighting Miriam Francis, he's gaslighting Aaron. He's doing a lot of things that are not right. So is Stephanie Hutchinson. So Stephanie Hutchinson is doing similar things to like an OSA tactic, which is ridiculous. Miriam Francis absolutely deserves the treatment that she needs. She does not have the help that she needs. And quite frankly, it is wrong to question how much help a person needs. Please become trauma-informed, like I said. There are people out there who have been victims of SA and rape, and it's just not, being trauma-informed when you say that they've gotten all the help that they need. You don't know what is going on inside of them. You don't know what trauma is going on inside of them, and you don't know if they're having nightmares. You don't know what's going on. So therefore, you cannot speak about the trauma-informed response. PTSD is a very disabling disease and brain injury that happens to people. And it happens into a lot of military families. I can tell you a story. I worked with a woman at Marshall's. Her son came home from doing one of the tours in Iraq and Iran and Saudi Arabia. He thought his own mother was an intruder in the house and tried to choke her out. It's very serious when you sit here and say, Miriam does not deserve the treatment that she needs. She absolutely does. And Stephanie Hutchinson, you have no right to talk about anybody else's trauma. Because you weren't there. You were not there. You didn't observe what happened. You weren't there. So until you can actually walk in somebody else's shoes and walk a mile in their shoes, don't comment. Don't create nasty blogs. Don't create gaslighting. Don't create bullying. Let's be clear. I was bullied in high school, and it made me feel really horrible. I was bullied by a guy named Steve Donaldson, Tracy Smith. They made my friends turn around and be against me the whole sophomore through senior year. They made my life a living hell, to the point where I almost committed suicide. And nobody else knows this. But it's very serious. You have no right to talk about somebody else's trauma when you don't know what's going on with them. Miriam deserves the treatment that she needs. People deserve the treatment that they need. So let's get off this high horse. Let's be trauma informed. Being trauma informed lets people know that that people need help. That is why Aaron Smith Levin has advisory boards also involved in the SPTV Foundation, as well as the members that he appointed, which there's many, many members. Poe on the Go is one of them, and he is not in Scientology. So, there's a few people on that board that are not in Scientology. George LeBlanca is not in Scientology. So, for people to sit here and say, Aaron picked the people that he are all friends with him, that might be correct. But you know what? There are people on that board that were never in Scientology and that were members of law enforcement. So, get it straight. Stop attacking people. Stop harassing people. The ex-Scientology, members want to move on, and they want to just focus on Scientology. Like yesterday, Aaron Smith Levin said one of the last known holdouts, who was a landlord in Clearwater, sold to Scientology because he felt the city council wasn't doing enough to help bring businesses into the community. And sadly, that's happening in a lot of towns because Scientology will pay top dollar for those buildings, and they aren't tax exempt. They don't pay property taxes like we do. Their entity is not taxed, which they need to be, because it's a pyramid scheme. It's a pay-to-play scheme to join Scientology. The fair gaming tactics that Leah Remini has talked about, same with Chrissy Bixler. She's a defendant that was in the Danny Masterson trial, who they did not convict on. She's been harassed. She's been intimidated. She even had her dogs poisoned. All due to the Church of Scientology. And people can say there's no facts on that, but yes, there are facts. Also, in the LA Times article that was printed out yesterday, a prosecutor was intimidated, harassed, stalked, even run off the road during the Danny Masterson trial. His wife was upstairs in one of the rooms and heard somebody breaking into their house. Also, they had their electronics tampered with. Who does all this stuff? People in OSA. OSA create these drills to harass members, harass people who speak out about Scientology, and do things that are wrong. Do things that are criminal. They hire these unsavory characters like Patrick Perry. As you know, Patrick Perry is the same guy that's supposedly a veteran and has PTSD and uses that dog as a therapy dog. That dog is not a therapy dog. He's trained to bite people. There was these young kids doing a TikTok video on the sidewalk, and he walks past them, and they weren't from this country. They were tourists. And his dog tried to jump up and bite one of them. It's not cool. It's not cool. Enough's enough. And the more Scientology puts their foot in their mouth and more stuff that comes out, it makes them look even worse. Scientology claims they have millions of members. No, they don't. They're dwindling. As Aaron Smith-Levin, they have about 30,000 in the world. And their numbers are not growing. They're actually dwindling. And yes, the protesters did have the Hollywood Test Center shut down. Stephanie. So maybe that's a good thing. They aren't actually actively recruiting people into Scientology. Do your research. Stop commenting on what we are doing. We are actually trying to shut Scientology down and get rid of their tax-exempt status. Ask your local official, will you be willing to even think about having hearings into Scientology's tax-exempt status? Yes, we understand that the IRS is the ones that make it so that certain organizations can have tax-exempt status, but we really need to have this looked at because there are some illegal things going on in Scientology, like the pay-to-play scheme and the human trafficking aspect. Please go to @LiterallySurge. He talks about this in detail, about how children audit adults. They don't believe children are children. They believe that they're adult beings in tiny little bodies. They believe that each person has Satans. They believe that Xenu is this overlord that froze people and threw them into a volcano and had hydrogen bombs that made them explode and come out as Satans or spirits that attach to humans. They believe in aliens. So, Christianity doesn't believe any of that stuff. And Christianity doesn't make people pay to be a part of a church or be a part of a membership. Neither does the Catholic Church. I do know that these horrible cults do exist, and it's a high control group. It's a way to control members into being in line. They threaten disconnection. They claim that no longer exists, but it does exist. And many ex-Scientologists have talked about it. Let's be real. Scientology destroys families. It's a proven fact. It's happened many times. Thank God Natalie Webster and 3 generations of her family got out of Scientology. Sadly, 2 years after her mom got out, she passed away. And they truly believe it was the high levels of niacin that the Scientology members take during the purification rundown. And there's been many studies that have suggested that niacin is not good for you, even in the vitamin supplement doses. So let's be real, let's be honest, let's be happy, let's just enjoy each other instead of attacking one another. And yes, I like to do shelling videos. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to do that because I'm pet sitting. So I can't do that and go shelling this week, maybe next week. But I prefer to do shelling videos over Scientology talk any day of the week, because Scientology, they have harassed so many people, and it actually is very scary. If you think about it, why would all of a sudden, all at once, the protesters are talking about having nails in their tires, having unsavory characters come up to them? Confident Chris was attacked on his own live stream. Let's be real. These are the OSA drills that OSA puts out. And you can even go to Tori Magoo at 44. She is an old school Scientologist that used to do those OSA drills when there was protesters outside of the blue buildings. It is what it is, and I believe there's a lot of hypocrisy in the Aftermath board. I believe, Stephanie, you need to become trauma-informed instead of attacking others and putting out Mike Rinder's rhetoric. Because you're no better. You're no better than Mike Rinder. Let's be clear. Mike Rinder is not the face of the Aftermath. Aaron Smith Levin did more for the Aftermath board than Mike Rinder. Claire Headley and Mark Headley, I have no issues with. But what I do have issues with is them not being transparent and trying to silence people who speak out about Scientology and do what they can to help. Yes, even if we just watch the videos and put it out there and make the algorithm on YouTube send that stuff out, because Scientology as a whole and information on Scientology is very interesting. Any cult is very interesting. I used to watch a show on the Discovery Channel called Amish Mafia. They're culty. So, let's be clear. What we want is more people that are trauma-informed. Number 2, they can replace all those board members. And I understand from Mike's own blog that most of the former Aftermath board members want to replace themselves. But they're not going to find anybody who wants to do it because they don't have any trauma-informed people. They don't have psychologists that are trained in PTSD and trained to deal with this kind of stuff. They don't have social workers like Rabbit. Rabbit has a degree in social work and criminology. She has a master's degree in social work. That's the reason why Aaron reached out to her in the first place, to get his story out. Juliana Cohen put her story out there and made it well known to anyone who listened. And even O.O. Nora said she lied in her emails. So let's just be clear. Aaron Smith Levin is not the issue. It was jealousy that was the issue. Let's be clear. So, I am done talking about the hypocrisy of the Aftermath board for now. If anything else new comes out, I will let you know. This is Scientology news, and this is what is buzzing. And we have to pray that the next cycle of city council members that are put into Clearwater will definitely do something about Scientology. Mark Bunker has been speaking out for many, many years. He was actually on the Lisa McPherson Foundation. And he's been speaking about Scientology. They have a public park where Mark Bunker sat and was arrested because he sat down on a public park bench because it was owned by Scientology. Let's be clear. Nobody wants to go to downtown Clearwater, Florida, because there's only 5 restaurants that are open in the 500 block of North Cleveland Avenue. Aaron Smith Levin says it's a ghost town, and I believe him, because it is a ghost town, because Scientology does scare people away. And let's be clear, they need to have their tax-exempt status taken away. Thank you, and have a great day.